it feels like one of the differences, and I don't know if this is the caliber of people around Trump, that there's no, not to lionize the people that were around him the first time, but there's no one grounded in reality. And so these people have allowed Noem and Miller to act in ways that Trump's approval ratings are now lower than they were on the issues of immigration and economy than they were during COVID.
Yeah, and the difference here is Donald Trump's, for all the baloney about 2028 and the fantasizing about that, Donald Trump's never going to be on a ballot again. And all of these other Republicans are going to be on a ballot. Yeah. And that is a fundamentally different calculus. And that's why you're hearing a different tenor off the Hill lately.
Okay, let me read from your new reporting on the DOJ. Bondi and Blanche have tried to refocus public attention on the aggressive tactics of the demonstrators. They've also pushed prosecutors and the FBI to turn up the heat on critics of the immigration crackdown, politicians, protesters, even relatives of the victims. This strategy has left the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis, one of the most respected in the nation, in crisis. On Tuesday, prosecutors in the office's criminal division confronted the Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney Daniel Rosen and an aide to Todd Blanche over concerns that they were being asked to execute orders that went against the department's mission and best practices. That's according to 4 people briefed on that exchange. Some of the prosecutors suggested they were considering resigning in protest. Those people said days after 6 others had quit over similar concerns. Their departures would exacerbate a staffing shortfall that has already forced the department to shift prosecutors from other jurisdictions to bolster the depleted ranks in Minnesota. If your ICE agents had done nothing wrong, why would DOJ be asking the FBI to, quote, turn up the heat on critics of the immigration crackdown, politicians, protesters, and family members of the victims?
Well, look, I mean, making this assertion sounds like an editorial opinion, but it is bolstered by fact and buttressed incident after incident after incident. And that is just the very plain fact that the FBI and DOJ have allowed themselves to be turned into a political tool by the White House. I just don't think there's any other way to escape that conclusion. Yeah. If you look at Pam Bondi sent a letter, an extraordinary letter to Walz and other officials in Minnesota, essentially, laying out conditions earlier in the week by which ICE would ramp down. And one of those involved turning over or allowing DOJ to have access to voter rolls. I mean, just think about that. That is absolutely extraordinary. And one of the things that we uncovered in our reporting was that was partially drafted by the White House. There was a tremendous amount of input. And if you needed any proof of that, Donald Trump basically cut and pasted Bondi's letter and put it up on Truth Social. So we're dealing right now. And again, every single time this happens, we've got to wrap our mind around this new reality, and that is DOJ and the FBI, which for all of their problems, and these are profoundly flawed institutions, were fundamentally working according to a rule book. Now now they are totally in the service of Donald Trump's political playbook.
Sarah, does that seem to be breaking through with voters, that it's all in Donald Trump's political mission and service, and that there is no part of the federal government looking out for the American people?
Not sure that specifically breaks through. I mean, Americans, man, when it comes to the institutions, the big institutions, they are often not following the minutia of it. I will tell you what has broken through, and this has been pretty striking to me. The fact that Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller all came out and lied about both the shooting of Renee Good and the shooting of Alex Preddy, but especially the shooting of Alex Preddy. That has broken through. What the American people are, the fact that there was a video that directly contradicted the idea that he was a domestic terrorist or that he had come there to do maximum damage, that smearing of him is something that voters took note of. They're like, that's not what the video shows. I'm watching it with my own eyes. And I think that is starting to break through. I don't want to say it's creating a legitimacy crisis, because I'm not sure how much legitimacy they actually had with voters. Yeah. But it is causing people to say, well, we can't trust their statement of events because we can see that they're lying to us.
Yeah, I mean, and Alex, I think this is where the cracks in the foundation of their coalition put there by Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Todd Blanche over their handling of the Epstein investigation and their treatment of the victims who had no political affiliate. I mean, they went to the Capitol. They were eager to meet with Republicans. They were eager to meet with anyone that would help them sort of in their pursuit of accountability and justice. I think that credibility, and I agree, I don't know that it's legitimacy, but credibility, even within their own coalition, seems to be badly damaged.
Yeah, I was with those Epstein victims on the Hill. So a lot of them were Trump voters, right? Like the coalition, I certainly believe is fraying. And it's not helped when someone like Kash Patel says he's going to tap into signal chats on the part of activists because he wants to see if they're putting ICE agents' lives in danger. I mean, first of all, this is a group of people that rode into office with paranoid conspiracies about the federal government reaching into the lives of ordinary everyday Americans. And now that the shoes on the other foot is murdering Americans in the street on videotape, lying about it. And then the sort of response to that, their Cleanup Act, involves further targeting ordinary everyday American citizens who are lawfully protesting the work of jackbooted thugs in their neighborhoods. I mean, you can't even, I don't think there's a pretzel that's twisted enough to account for this sort of moral equivalency that the insane equivocation that's happening inside the Trump White House to justify these maneuvers. But I do think for a base that believes in transparency, that believes in curbing the overreach of the federal government, that is aligned with Second Amendment principles and believes in the backing the blue. I mean, this is just an extraordinary chapter in the Trump administration and its most, fervent allies of the president, upending all the norms, right? Upending all the things, the principles that brought them into office. And may I say, ham-handedly so. I mean, does anybody believe what Kash Patel, who live tweets bad information about his own investigations, does anybody believe that guy's the sort of the competent one in the room? Or Pam Bondi, who said she, had all the Epstein files on her desk and then didn't have any files at all? I mean, there's a clownishness to the ineptitude, and in addition to it being just a betrayal of all the principles of MAGA.